So let's take a look at what it looks like here. So here I have a grid bound up to a number of instances of the person object. And you'll notice we have the last login date here. This is a date time, and under normal circumstances under the grid, if you had a date time, you'd get a drop down that would allow you to pick a new date. But what we want to do is be able to make it so that you can go in and edit the date and the time. So we've created a custom user control that this field switches over to, and now we have the drop down for the date, and we can come in and change the time as well. So we can do that, and once we come out of it, you can see it has the new date and the new time. So basically what this does is has two separate templates, one for read-only and one for editing. And so what we'll do is create this simple application here where we have a specific user control set up for the editing of the datetime value. So let me show you how it's done. So there's a few things that I have already prepared for you. Here's a window that will host our grid. The grid's been brought onto the page, it's been docked to the window, and it's ready for us to customize. The date editor also is a user control that I created, and it's just got a few things. Here it's got our date edit control and also our masked edit control, and it's set up to accept a time data mask. So we've got our date and our time that we can work with, and we'll go through and customize this as needed. So the first thing I want to do, well, let's start off by filling out the code for our date editor. Now the way that this user control works is that you want to keep the state of the value that you're editing. And so we're going to create, the way the samples put it, a cache version of that. So we'll start off by creating a member here, which is a nullable date time. And this will be our cached date. And they'll also declare a public event for date changed. And now we need a property that is the data that comes out of this control. So we need public date time, and we'll just call this date. And there's some attributes we want to apply to this here. We'll say that it's not browsable. And we'll also say that the designer serialization visibility is set to hidden. Okay, now that we've got that, we're going to need a getter and a setter. So for the getter, if the cache date has a value, then what we'll do is simply return it. If it doesn't have a value yet, and we're starting with something new, then we need to build up a value in order to work with. So we'll create just this here, this date. So we'll take a look at what's in the control, and for the time, we'll create a separate variable for that. So first of all, what we want to do is take a look at what's in our time control, and if the value basically is blank or is not blank, then we'll set that equal to the time. IntelliSense get me every time. Otherwise what we'll do is we'll just set the time equal to basically 12 o'clock a.m. of whatever it is today. And then from there we can set that equal to the cached date. So for this we'll create a new date time and basically fill in the values that we've put together from above. hour, time minutes, and time seconds. Then we'll simply return cache date.value. So in this getter, what we're doing is basically if it has a value, we'll just return it up immediately. After that, we'll build up something that makes sense if it doesn't have a current value. The setter is really easy. From here, what we can simply do is take the value and fill both of our controls with it. So we can say this datetime date, the value equals the incoming value, and the time control equals the incoming value as well. Now to support our events, what we want to do is go to each one of our controls up in the designer and say that when the value changes, we're going to fire off our event here. So let's get to the properties window. And so when the value's changed, we'll call this date value changed. And so this same method will be called from both of our controls. So value changed also calls this method. So inside this method, it's pretty simple what we'll do. We're just going to raise our event to say that the date is changed and also clear out the cache date. So this is equal to null. And if we have a subscriber to the date changed, it's not equal null, then we'll go ahead and fire that event. That's most of the work to make this all happen. So it's just having this control that knows how to accept, format, and return the data that's coming into it. So we have our two controls that now are able to work with the incoming data. So now that we have that, we need to come back up to our window and start fleshing this out a little bit. So the first thing that we need is to have an instance of our editor form available to this class. So we'll just create protected date editor. So this is already set up to talk to the repository and get the people and set the grid's data source. What we want to do also though is the controls collection. We want to add our editor control so that it will be disposed when the window's disposed as well. So pass that in there. Now we need a containing editor control. So let's go back up to the designer, go into the toolbox, and find our control container editor. We'll drop that on. And go back to our code. And so from here what we can do is say control container editor. The editing control is now set to the instance of our date editor. And then to format everything correctly, we'll come back to the grid and we need to go into the initialize layout event. And once that's available, the most important part about it is we're going to go to E layout bands. We're going to grab the first band and then take a look at the column. And what we're looking for is last login date. From there we can say the editor component is equal to the instance of our control container editor. Now there are a few other things that you might want to do in order to make it look pretty, and instead of typing all the code I'll simply paste it in here. So let's go through this really quick. We've got our auto fit set up to extend the last column. Captions are visible, we're turning those off. The row sizing is auto fixed, the selectors are false. The horizontal align and the vertical align within the cells. And then the row height we're setting to the editor height. And this is important because if you don't, we have those two controls in our user control, and if you don't set the height, then some of that will be cut off. So this basically just kind of formats some of the look and feel of the row and the columns so that it works well with our editor. And the last thing that we need to do is go over to the window and our control container editor. Come in here and say the edit control property name. This will be date, and this is the property off of our user control for the date editor that has the value, and it has all that logic in order to work with the value. So let's run this. And now we have our grid and everything's formatted just how we wanted it, with that special code to format the row with the height and everything. When we click on the last login date, you can see that it brought in the date into the date control, and we can come through here and change this to, like, let's say April 1st, and switch this to say 5:11 a.m. And now when we go out of that control, you can see that it's April 1st and 5:11 a.m. So it updated the grid with the default read template with the new data as well.
Infragistics. On the web at infragistics.com.